Thank you very much. I'm not sure I can live up to that intro, but hey, hello everyone. So my name's Andrew Douglas, founder of Parallel London, and I'm just going to talk to you for the next 10-15 minutes about why we need an event like Parallel London. And as the kind introduction said, my career has been really founded in events, and I've been lucky enough to create and plan lots and lots of events all over the world at really, really large scale. And that's probably the most important thing just to remember, doing something at a large scale. And I'm going to come back to that later. But actually, what I also recognize is the power of live events. And I think you all feel it. I think moments in time and everything we look back, all of our precious, cherished moments are all grounded in an event. And creating events of shared moments are really memorable. So I thought about this, and I thought about, actually, if I can create something at really, really large scale that was memorable, but actually took a different perspective in terms of what we do with regards to inclusion, it could become a really, really powerful thing. And therefore, the idea of Parallel London was born. And believe it or not, I looked around all over the world, not in the UK and all around the world, that whether there was something like Parallel as we know today that actually is at large scale and is completely inclusive. And there wasn't. And so, the idea was born to create Parallel London and also to flip everything on its head. So I think all the events that we always go to are inaccessible, or very, very frustrating that you can't access them. So why we need Parallel London is to completely flip it on its head. So everything is totally inclusive, totally accessible, and actually I wanted to share and to show the society and all the world that actually, if you take away the barriers and make things accessible, then everybody can fulfill their potential. And everybody can come and engage as a family, or as a friendship group, or as a work group, or as a community. And it's so powerful and so rich. And look at what we can achieve once we all come together and take on that inclusive spirit to all achieve something together. And so Parallel London, yes, it's an event, but also what it's designed to be is a catalyst, is a catalyst to encourage changes of perception, changes of attitude. Because if we can demonstrate something at large scale, and we're in year 2 of Parallel London, and this will become an annualized event, that if we can demonstrate the power of inclusivity and all the positivity of inclusivity, then actually others will wake up. They'll see the benefits, whether it's a local authority, whether it's a brand, whether it's the company you work with, and slowly things can change. And that's what we want to do. And I think this is why we need events like Parallel London. And I'd also like to share with you what our purpose is, actually, of Parallel London. So what is it? What are we trying to do? And where does this fit in to the whole landscape and the context of inclusion? Well, I think we all know, if we subscribe to the view that we're all different, then of course, being different is completely normal. But I don't want to really focus on our differences. We're all different, whether our colour, our creed, whether we're mobile or whether we're not so mobile, that doesn't really matter. About Parallel London, it's about what we all have in common. And all of us in this room and all of us that might be watching this online, we all have so much more in common than we have as part of our differences. And that's what we should be focusing on, and that's what Parallel, the message of Parallel, is all about. It's all about celebrating all the things we have in common. So Parallel London, and why we need it, we want this to become our national celebration of inclusion. Okay? There is nothing at the moment that celebrates and shines a light on inclusivity. We have a whole series of fun runs, and I'm going to come on to those later, and why we have so many distances and fun runs. But crucially, it's open to all ages and all abilities. So again, no barriers, nothing behind us, and we welcome everybody. And the fun run, at the center of the fun run, is an inclusive festival. And the reason why we created a festival was actually to not just provide a much, much richer experience of inclusion, lots of activities, showcasing lots of things and activities we can all do, given the right encouragement, the right environment, but it's a way in which I can hopefully encourage more and more brands to engage with Parallel. And I believe that brands have a really, really important place in the whole nature of inclusivity. So we have fantastic brands here today like Barclays, and there are many, many more who we want to try and engage, because I do believe if you get brands of that stature standing side to side with inclusion and disability, then culturally it's really powerful and cool. And people like cool stuff. And if they see cool brands and cool companies standing shoulder to shoulder with inclusivity, then again, it's going to change awareness and change perception. And that's what we really want to try and do with our festival, and why it's so integral and so important to what is Parallel London. And our purpose, and I mentioned before, our purpose is to become a catalyst. Yeah? We don't want to be a charity or a lobby or anything else. There are so many great organizations doing that already, but we want to be a catalyst of change and awareness, but also to help point lots and lots of people in the right direction to many, many organizations who share our attitude towards inclusion and the great facilities and opportunities there are, whether it's in the workplace or at home or in play. And also through the power of storytelling as well. My background is events, and I know the power of storytelling. And so telling stories through all of our wonderful participants, many of different ages, many of different abilities, who all come and take part in Parallel and share their stories with us. And through those stories, we can gain much, much greater insight and much, much greater understanding of the power and the potential of inclusion, and how we can all fulfill all of our potential. And how if we shine a light on all of these wonderful stories, then again, as a society and as a nation, we'll be all the better for it. So that's our purpose. We want to shine a light on inclusion in home, work, and play. But the event aims as well. So the aims of the event of Parallel London, we have 4 of them. So we want to enable as many people of all age and ability to challenge themselves. And this is the thing, it doesn't matter, you can all have a challenge. And if you take away the barriers, if you take away all of the accessible challenges, then people can get active and challenge themselves. And this is really, really important as well. It's all about getting active. And this isn't necessarily about doing sport or being good at something or competing, but actually it's just about having a go, being social, making new friends. And actually it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do sport. You can volunteer. You can just show up and support. But again, it's about connecting and also creating a wider community and a force for good in the realms of inclusion. And the other thing that I'm really keen to do is to encourage what we call beneficiaries to become benefactors. And it's so powerful. There are so many beneficiaries who benefit from facilities and other elements from charities and other organizations. But actually, given the right environment and the right encouragement, the beneficiaries can actually give back. They can fundraise, they can do amazing things. And it is the most powerful thing, I think, in all of Parallel London. And today, and in other Parallel Londons, we've had amazing beneficiaries raising money for their charities, for their causes, for the things that they really care about. And it is just a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. And also an opportunity for charities, to unlock new streams of fundraising, a small army of beneficiaries who just want to give back. And given the right environment, they can. And it's really, really powerful. And I also mentioned, we want to engage with brands in work, home, and play. Incredibly powerful, standing shoulder to shoulder, globally and culturally, of all of these brands who can actually unlock networks and persuade and change attitudes, so we can all as a community come together, and also, fulfill all of the benefits that we know that can unlock themselves in society. And of course, we want to showcase the very, very best of inclusion. And my hope is that today we tag things. We call things disability sport or inclusive arts or disability technology. But actually over time, my hope is it just becomes arts or technology or sport. We don't have to define it or whatever, it just happens. And actually we can all come together and do things together rather than just being siloed or in isolation. And again, if we can do that, again, it just helps and changes the whole perception and awareness of what we're trying to do around the realms of inclusion. So I think finally, the one thing that we want to do and we have to continue to do, and why we need Parallel London, is that if we want to continue to change, and hopefully this is what we see with Parallel London, we need to be bold, and we need to be innovative, and we need to be original. And that's the whole thing with Parallel, is that yes, it's unique, but actually we don't want to rest on our laurels. We want to continue to innovate. We want to continue to challenge. We want to continue to shake things up and actually ask the question of why? Well, why can't we all do things? And why are there barriers? And why are things so inaccessible? And again, if we can come together as a community and we grow all together and a groundswell, then people will start to listen. And I'm a great believer in terms of swelling from the bottom up. And if there is enough people with a voice wanting to do more things, starting to ask questions, even demanding more of our local authorities and all of our governments, then I think together with our bold vision of inclusion of what we want to become, then again we will fulfill all of our vision of what we want to achieve in the UK and beyond, of really truly fulfilling all of our potentials and creating a genuinely inclusive society. Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, there's a very good round of applause for Andrew, and I'm sure everybody was inspired to hear the vision behind the event we've all enjoyed today. Is there any burning questions for anyone in the audience before we go to the Q&A between us? We'll jump straight into it. So before you did Parallel London, the first one, what was the idea you had that you felt the world needed? Why did you think, actually, I need to do this, I need to push this forward?
I think where the idea was born, actually, it was through my agency work, and we do a lot of work for Red Bull. And you may not know, but Red Bull are an amazing company on many, many different levels, but they actually underwrite a spinal cord research charity. It's called Wings for Life. And so I was invited to do some work for them, around their events, because they set up their charity. And two things happened, actually. I went into it eyes wide open, and so I learned an awful lot about spinal cord research and spinal injury. But what it also did, it brought me into contact with many, many new people that I would ordinarily never have met. And there's an amazing statistic that it's something like 65% of the people in the UK don't know anybody that has a disability. I mean, 65%. But actually, what it enabled me to do was to meet many, many people of all different areas of ability or disability, and it opened my eyes. And it opened my eyes to why I've never really have many friends who have a disability, but it also opened my eyes to the many challenges around inclusion. So again, given my background in events, I thought, well, actually, I know how to put on a really big event. I'm still learning about inclusion and disability. I don't profess to be an expert at all, but I thought if I can create something at scale, then maybe there's a hope that it'll get noticed, and in our own small way we can make some changes.
So in terms of that history of being in events, as someone who's able-bodied, most of us don't often think about the lives of other people outside our own existence. So how much of a wake-up call was it when you then had that enlightening moment when you worked with Red Bull? Had you thought back at your previous events thinking maybe they could have been a little bit more inclusive, and was that a reason why you pushed forward with this?
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it had a profound effect on me, not just in terms of, the idea behind Parallel, but it made me think about my own agency. And actually we need to be better on all different levels about accessibility, in terms of our employment policy, about the way in which we set about creating our events. So we've done that, and for my own agency, we have an ambition to be the most inclusive agency in the UK, as an ambition. And so we actively started, a recruitment policy, and also, instilling lots of different things. So it had a profound effect on me in terms of, just really rethinking, not just about how many people I know or don't know that have disability, but just how I start to think about things, and how I start to think about things in a much more inclusive fashion. And
then moving on to that in terms of the recruitment aspect, when you're talking to other executives from different companies, or sometimes when you go onto LinkedIn, when you mention diversity and inclusion, you kind of get a backlash from some people. What advice or what words would you tell them to say, actually, there's actually lots of benefits that come from being more inclusive or diversive? How has it benefited you or your companies?
No, I mean, without question, there are so many talented people who simply don't have an opportunity, whether it's in the workplace or other things, perhaps because of perceptions or barriers around diversity and inclusion. And I do find that, again, many companies are still actually struggling, to make the difference or determine the difference between diversity and inclusion. And I love it's a well-borrowed quote, but I love a quote that goes something like, diversity is like inviting somebody to the party, but inclusion is asking someone to dance. And that's how I like to look at it. And I think it's, lots of companies are diverse, but actually being inclusive, really is something else. And they need to bake it, right into their cultures and their values, whether it's their employability policy, whether it's creating a more accessible environment, whether it's attitudinal, thinking about how people can access your website or all of your communications. It needs to be absolutely bedded into everything.
And then finally, for everyone that's come down to Parallel London today, what memory or feeling do you want them to walk away with in terms of when they're telling their friends about this is what I experienced at this event?
I think for me is actually, is you come into an environment which is accessible and look what, you just can sense the atmosphere and what everybody is able to do, everybody coming together. And this is a really important thing, that everybody coming together of all different abilities and ages, and it's a wonderful thing. And that's what society should be like. So, not hidden away or not being able to get out. So my message would be, Parallel is a welcoming, it's an accessible environment, and we're going to do more of it, and I'll leave you with another quote. Not that I'm a one for quotes, but I think it was, I think there's a discrepancy between who actually said it, whether it was Hemingway or whether it was Franklin. But it goes something like, never confuse motion with action. Yeah? And I just think there's far too motion and talking about what we should be doing and inclusion, but we need more action. And I hope in our small way, Parallel is action. We're doing things, and we want to be better. And again, we can only do that with everybody's support, and hopefully that will continue.
So on that note, can we give another big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Hopefully we'll see a very bright future for Parallel London.
Thank you very much. Thank you.